You just keep baking the cookies.
Technically,
What
I'm
is going
doing
on?
trash.
I ask and you deliver. Thank you. I appreciate that. What is going on, everyone? Welcome in live to the post-game for the Oregon Ducks game here on the Oregon channel, the Voice of College Football. Yes, it's live. Yes, we've been live for a while. Yes, yeah. I like to keep you guys on your toes. Make you think about what you're doing.
I had the YouTube channel up. It was doubling.
Oh, I hate when that happens. It's confusing. Yeah, here we are, Oregon live post-game show. And, well, Stanford. I would say that despite the slow start, I think that a lot of us expected it to be maybe a little slower than we were anticipating. I would say we chopped that tree down pretty solidly and mulched it.
It was the tree clipping.
Yeah, we took care of the nerds down on the farm for sure.
Nerds.
I mean, definitely, it was not the. This is what I know. I know you guys had your own comments, and I know this last week I had said I expect this to be like last year going against Cal, where the first quarter was pretty rough. I didn't expect it to be quite as bad as tonight was. Tonight was pretty rough in the first quarter. So literally have like 3 offensive plays, and that's it, basically. Like in the first quarter.
We had 6.
I'm sorry. 6.
Oh, 2, 3, and outs. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. 6. Whatever. Point is, it was
13 minutes to 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, it was as rough as you could ask for a first quarter start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, I kind of give credit to Stanford. Like we were talking about in the chat, we knew their only chance was to control the tempo of the game, and they did it flawlessly in the first quarter. It's just you knew that skill gap was going to catch up eventually.
And boy, did it.
Yeah, well, then, like, you saw the adjustments immediately because what Stanford was trying to do, they were trying to obviously milk the clock, short kind of comeback routes, a lot of outside running, trying to stretch us, and using the quarterback, I think, a little bit more than expected to run the ball. And Oregon's like not having any of that anymore.
Yeah. Well, after Daniels went down, then things were downhill for Stanford from there at that point.
Yeah, that blitz in the second quarter, that at first I didn't think it was going to get there, and then Williams shot through late, kind of delayed, shot through and took out, and he knocked out, Daniels, the quarterback, took him out of the game. I was like,
he went loop.
Ooh. It's like that was a hit. So
it was helmet to helmet, but it was all illegal.
You could see him get up and just kind of like.
Yeah, it was a perfectly clean hit too. It was like helmet to shoulder, fully clean hit. It was just, it kind of rocked him. Probably maybe, hit his head on the ground and stuff like that. I mean, it happens, but it was quite a hit. So let's ignore the first quarter, because the first quarter there was not a whole lot to talk about outside the defense holding Stanford to field goals, which Stanford, everyone knew if Stanford was only going to score field goals, probably not much to worry about.
The one thing Stanford does have is one of the best kickers in the league.
Well, he got two solid attempts. He did good on that. But again, outside the first quarter, then what did you guys think defensively? Because obviously we were worried about a slow start. The offense didn't get to do anything in the first quarter, like at all. So defensively, was it what we expected, what we hoped for?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, at least, I think it was a little better than what we hoped for. I know for the most part, we'd all said, we thought they'd get a couple touchdowns here, what have you. But, after that first quarter, it seemed like they really settled in. Yeah, the defensive line looked like they were finally getting some pressure, which was throwing off the run game a little bit, which was kind of disrupting that QB run that they were using so effectively in the first quarter. And yeah, honestly, one thing I was kind of concerned about watching that first quarter was the linebacker play, and led by Jamal Hill at the end there, especially, was they really turned up the physicality toward the end there, and throughout the whole second half of the game. So, in terms of defense, I was very pleased overall with what we saw. I mean, I think they only had like 220 some yards worth of total offense. Talking about Stanford, and giving up 12 points over the last 2 weeks, I have no complaints on the defensive side of the ball.
Sean's like, did you solo screen me? How dare you?
I literally was just thinking that too. Like, what the fuck's going on here?
I know, he kept looking in. He's like, what the fuck?
No, I was impressed with the defense again, because despite the offense's slow start, and that's credit also to Stanford. Stanford had a good game plan at first, and then Oregon had to make some adjustments around that. Stanford is not void of talent. It's just they have a new system, they have new coaches. They're going to be bad for a year or two. That's to be expected. But they did a really good job in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Really
they really did. So for me, obviously, first quarter, but getting off that slow start, we all expected that. But from there on, once the defense kind of woke up, it was just downhill from there. For fourth down especially, that's where I felt like we kind of lacked a little bit, was fourth down, no matter what, because they were kind of, first half was, they were like 2 for 2 or 3 for 3, pretty much perfect in the first half on fourth down.
Yes, they did get their fourth downs. But even then, when needed to, the defense clamped down to hold them to field goals in that first quarter. But then after that, it's like all of a sudden, I think Lanning had enough in Lupoi, and we're like, blitz time, send in the pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it might have been a bit of precaution too over the fact that Stanford's using 2 quarterbacks right now. One has that more run. One runs a little bit better. Lamson was the one who was a little bit more of a running quarterback comparatively to Daniels, who's more of that throwing quarterback. So you kind of had to base your defense off of who was in there.
Yeah, that's fair too. And Daniels, he didn't even get in there a whole lot, because I don't know how many plays he was in there, but by total,
he's only in there a handful of plays.
He got 5th or 6th play, he got wiped out basically. So
yeah, he was 3 of 4 passing. So after that 4th attempt, I think that's when he took the sack on the chin and called it a night.
Yeah,
and that was right before half too.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Williams. So Williams did a good job on that blitz. The first quarter, I didn't note. Now I could be mistaken. Maybe I just missed his number or name being spoken about later in the game. But the first quarter, there was a couple plays where Betcher showed up big to stop plays, and I think a tackle for loss. Then after that, I didn't really hear his name again. So I don't know if he just went out of the rotation, wasn't involved in the plays, but at first he was in there and they were talking about
it. Might have been his area that was getting basted on the ground there in that first quarter, and after those first couple of play, that second and third series. And I think, and if that's the case, if his area was getting suspected, that's probably where they switched out. Because isn't him and Jalil Florence or whatever both linebackers?
Him and Jamal Hill.
Jamal Hill, yes.
Yeah. I know Jamal Hill, he did end up taking, I think when looking at the final snap count, he did have significantly more snaps than Bryce Betcher.
I think that's what happened.
Yeah, but early on in the game, he definitely had a big third down stop. I think it was a tackle for a loss, and to be honest, it was kind of, at least in my opinion, one of those drives that really kind of started to swing the momentum. After Stanford was chewing clock. After that last possession there, that was kind of the last time we saw Stanford's offense do anything.
Yeah, it was very abysmal.
Yeah, outside their first two, exactly. They chewed clock to perfection that first quarter, because the first quarter ended, I was like, that's the end of the first quarter. Holy crap! We haven't even touched the ball hardly.
Well, their first drive was 7.5 minutes.
It was, yeah. It really took 7.5 minutes by the time they kicked the field goal, and until their last drive, which they didn't convert the fourth down, they didn't do anything. So
no. But in big play situations, I just had it up here. Stanford started 4 of 6 on third down, and they ended 6 of 18. So, just the second half, like we said, the defense they completely imposed their will on them. They let them know exactly who is the more dominant team here. And, Stanford couldn't do anything at that point.
Again, outside the slow start.
That.
Well, yes, it was the exact same score as last week, 42-6.
Wow.
The only difference is last week it was 42-0, and they scored 6. This week it was 6-0 that we scored
40. Yeah, exactly.
I'll take that every week, no matter what. Hopefully, though, we can't deal with these slow starts offense, but this is what we expected it to be, kind of a sluggish game. Stanford, I think, expected it, and they did a really good job about it. But it was only a matter of time, exactly, until the coaches that halftime. I'm sure that halftime meeting with the players and the coaches it was fire, probably going, wake up, do what you're supposed to do, because you can't start like that against offenses like Washington or USC. Oregon State, even you can't let them control the ball like that. You can't not respond. So at the same time,
yeah, no. One thing we were talking about is the adjustments that were obviously made between Dan Tosh and Will Stein throughout the game. That's kind of something we haven't been seeing in previous years. We've definitely seen these slow starts happen. We're not not accustomed to these between Wazoo games, Stanford games in previous years. Remember where we were ranked number 3 a couple years ago? We went into the farm and got shellacked. It was just there was no adjustment that were being had. They wanted to stick to their game plan.
Though.
Yeah, they wanted to
screw us in 21. Let's get that right. Stanford didn't win that game.
Well,
the refs won that game.
Let me ask you a question, though. Should we have been in that position in the first place?
No, technically no, but it was Anthony Brown, okay? I wasn't a huge fan of him, so.
Yeah, regardless, we're seeing adjustments that are able to be made now, and the fact that we are seeing these adjustments and the team is able to flip that switch when need be, that's so encouraging for a team going forward, because we know this is not the last game we're going to be down. We know it's not the last game where, we're probably going to be struggling to a point. It's just the fact that now we know these adjustments can be had and the team is responsive to these adjustments. That's a great sign for a team who wants to be successful in the long term.
And that's the big thing for me is it says Will Stein can change what he's trying to do, because we saw him trying to do at the beginning the first couple 6 plays that went 3 and out. Then you saw an adjustment immediately, I think, in the play calling where he's like, okay, why am I running outside? Just start running it right at them. Just keep doing it. Nick's using his legs a little bit by design. Tell him, hey, be loose, be free, run if you need to. That was the big first third down conversion I think we had.
It was that
on 3rd and 6, and then after that, it never stopped. So that's Nick's just taking over the game in those spots that he needs to, but being smart about it too. That's the big thing, is being smart about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I love about Nick's. his first couple years at Auburn, he was young. You know, the Auburn people ran him out of there and all that. But since the last year he had there and the 2 years that he's been here, you can see the growth and you can see how he just knows, okay, I have to take over. I can't just be here. I gotta go. I gotta move. I gotta flash. I gotta get guys to flash, and I gotta pick this up. And he does that, and that's just it blows me away at how good he really is. And yet you listen to all these buffoon announcers from ESPN, Fox Sports, and everybody, and they're all, oh, Caleb Williams, oh, this guy, oh, that guy, oh, fucking this guy over here. Oh, and then we have Bo Nix. Now, who's more efficient? Who's been more efficient? If you look, he's what, number 2 this year? He was number 1 last year in passing efficiency. I mean, the guy's like a mechanical genius down the field when he puts his mind into the game.
Yeah, I think it's crazy, especially social media is obviously a dangerous place because it gives a voice to any fucking idiot who wants to have a voice. But I think what you hear a lot of is you're like, oh, Bo Nix, like he was trash at Auburn. He choked in big games. He couldn't finish, da-da-da-da-da. But what I don't think people are understanding is that growth is happening, right? We've seen this 2 years in a row now where I can't think of one game off the top of my head where I was like, Bo was bad. Maybe the first game against Georgia, but I would say the entire team was bad that game. You know what I mean? So I think Bo's had a steady progression forward to developing into an NFL caliber quarterback, and nobody wants to recognize it because they're so stuck on something that happened 4, 5, and 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you get these Oregon fans too who look at Bo now or he throws an interception like he did last week, and it's like, oh, well, here's Bo Picks again. Like, okay, you played in the SEC, you're playing in the Pac-12 now. Like,
and let's stop with the SEC. He's going to the Pac-12. They don't play defense over there. Till we talk about the Ole Miss LSU game just happened. Who doesn't play defense anymore? It's the SEC who doesn't play defense anymore, apparently.
Hey, at least Dan Lanning's hair isn't looking like Lane Kiffin. Did you guys see his hair at the end of the game?
Dude, I texted you guys. I said, Lane looks insane.
It was like he wanted to pull his hair out. Like,
I think he was.
It was like
Lane's already going bald. He gonna wake up with a damn bald spot on his head tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Nick's is just mature. The more experience you get as a quarterback in different systems, but consistency. So that's why Lanning got Stein, because he was a relatively similar offensive style. So it didn't.
Yeah,
Nick didn't have to learn a whole new system.
Franklin.
That is probably true. I'm sure he had a couple good receivers. I can't remember them off like the 2019 team for Auburn, but I don't think he's had anything like the over-the-top threat that Troy Franklin.
Not like what he has today at Oregon. Yeah, exactly.
No, and it helps that right now he has the best run game he's ever had too. It allows the defense to not so much key in on those. Bo having to do everything by himself. Now the defense has to key in on two aspects of the game, and that opens that RPO up, and which obviously Bo does so effectively. But yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I guess my point more so is like the decision making and the maturity that we've seen has just been it's continued to stack up over the last 2 years. And I at least personally I wouldn't trade Bo for the world. I love having Bo back there. People can say whatever they want. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That's fine. But me personally, I feel comfortable if Bo is lined up and he's our quarterback every game. I feel like there's a chance we can win that game just because he can be that dude.
And yeah, the opponents haven't been the greatest the last couple of weeks, but I mean, you had a freight train running through the nation in Colorado.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. So save some of that luster and spunk a little bit later after the Stanford review, but carry on. Save some of it, though.
No, all I was going to say was that with Colorado and Stanford, you had that, freight train coming in, and everybody said Stanford was no good. They came out that first quarter, and you're thinking, oh, here we go again. And like we all said, the changes, the play calling, the differential that you just haven't seen in an Oregon team since probably Chip Kelly. It's like, all right, that's not working. We're going to this instantly, not waiting till halftime. It was like, okay, we're done. We're switching. We're going this. We're going X and Z instead of Y and K.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that's full credit too to Stanford of their game planning. They had a great game plan coming in.
Yep.
But once it got shifted, they couldn't keep it. They couldn't match or keep up after that. It was
and what's the perfect game plan to stop a team that's been averaging 54 points a game? Hold the damn ball. Long drives. Hold the ball. Don't keep them on the field like we did with Colorado last week. Stanford did the same exact thing that we did.
They did, and they did it masterfully that first quarter. Because I mean, we were texting. I was like, "Oh God!"
You could just feel the tempo.
This was like the slowest and fastest moving first quarter ever without even having the ball. That's how bad it was. It was like, wow.
Well, I think it was that combined with I think there were 2 3rd and 7s and a 3rd and 13 they converted. And it was like after those big third down conversions, I was like, it really had me thinking, I mean, I think all Oregon fans to a degree have a little bit of PTSD playing some of these Stanford games that we have no business losing in. But, just the fact that you can kind of feel it heading in that direction, even in the slightest, was enough to make us all go, what the fuck is happening right now?
Well, that's why this morning
I was screaming. My old lady was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
That's why this morning the video cut for the Oregon channel here was, "Does Oregon have a Stanford curse?" Because it is. We've discussed this on multiple occasions where it's like when Oregon's good, Stanford might not be, and Stanford knocks us off or challenges us. When Stanford's good and we're not that great, we challenge or knock off Stanford. It's this back and forth love-hate relationship of like, screw you guys.
Well, we can go back to 2 years ago. The whole time Pac-12 was mentioning it. We were number 3 in the nation. Yes, okay, refs won Stanford that game. I will say it. But we also shot ourselves in the foot that game. We weren't good. We were very good that year. Stanford was basically about the same as they were this year. Came in, beat us in OT.
George, well, and that year, I don't think we should have ever been 3, even though we took out Ohio State. We had so many games where it was like, yeesh. But then without Moorhead on the sideline, because he had to go to the hospital that morning, it was just a recipe for disaster. It was just the whole game. That game was awful. Penalties though, we were talking about this briefly, because they don't count the kickoff one. So I don't know why Lewis kicked 2 off the sideline for the third. I don't know why he kicked those out of bounds, but those don't count on the penalties, the official stat sheet. So we had 2 for 20 yards penalties. That's a huge improvement. We'll take 2 or 3 penalties for 20, 30 yards a game. You do that per game, you're in good standing as a team. That was a huge cleanup, even from last week.
Yeah, and none of those penalties came in big moments. There were no personal fouls on 3rd and longs. There were no holdings on 3rd and 1s, 3rds and 2s where they're converting. It was, I don't want to say there were harmless penalties, but, they were as minimal effectiveness as they could have been.
Yeah. You do 2 to 3 penalties a game for 20, 30 yards. Everyone here will be like, sweet. Sweet. That's fine.
And
That's
Sean,
like a national average, I think, really.
Sean, MT would like a cookie.
I'm sorry, I'm in Texas. The only one that can probably get a cookie is Ben, okay? He's closest.
I would like a cookie.
Well, you got to come to Georgetown, Ben, all right?
That's too far. That's too far. It's too far. I've been drinking. I think I have Chips Ahoy in the closet. They're Sam's cookies, but I'm going to eat them anyways.
But I mean, with penalties too, though, like, Tysheen or Jackson had the one pass interference call that gave him a little more confidence on that, that final drive. Like, it was still a turnover on downs, but there was still that pass interference there.
Oh, Nico Reed. Yeah.
Yeah, Nico.
Yeah.
Still had that pass interference, which gave Stanford a little more confidence, even though the game was over. Like, still gave him a little more confidence at the end of that game.
Reed, and speaking of Reed came in because he filled in for Jackson. Do we have any word on Jackson?
From last I saw, per injury updates, per multiple sources, sideline reported it sounds like it was more of a precautionary thing. So, he headed back to the locker room, came back, tried the bike, went back into the locker room. But before the game was over, he did end up coming back on the sideline. He was still in uniform. So it sounds like, it's probably more of a minor precautionary injury, just knowing that we have a bye week next week. Probably want him, being our most consistent corner, to be healthy for Washington. So once again, speculation, but it sounds like it's going to be something he's going to be able to return from.
That's fair, because, I know you guys were texting, like, yeah, he went locker room. Oh, no, now he's back in the locker room. I was like, but speaking of Reed, who took over for Jackson, he had a couple nice pass defenses. So he may have had a penalty, but, to step into that position all of a sudden, he had a couple of nice pass breakup, pass defenses, and held his own out there, too. Again, Stanford, not the same caliber as, like, Washington or USC, but that's good playing experience for him. So now someone else in the depth rotation having more and more experience, I think that's helpful.
Well, now's one of the positions, too, that even coming into this season, all four of us had talked about that cornerback and running back were the two positions we weren't most worried about if somebody went down, because we have that depth even in that secondary. Like, obviously Nico came in, made plays. Yes, he had that one little pass interference, but who's really going to hold that against him at an end of a game where the game's already over?
Right, and especially, they gave up, 130 some odd yards of pass yards through the air. A pass interference here and there is going to happen. I have no problem with him trying to be aggressive and making a play there, especially, given the situation and kind of coming off the bench. I'm sure he wasn't exactly expecting to be thrust into that role.
Yeah, let's get into the nitty gritty here while we're looking at it, because that's exactly right. We just talked about, that first quarter was ugly, but the defense stopped them when they needed to. And after that, it was over for Stanford. Well, 2 weeks in a row against one of the best offenses in the country, arguably, with Colorado, now Stanford, also with Portland State and Hawaii, and basically held them to all the same yards, basically 200 yards. Stanford got a little bit more, mostly because of that first quarter.
Yeah.
But only 133 yards passing. Only 89 yards rushing.
And they had 9 more plays total than we did as well.
Oh, and I don't know what their time of. There's another chart for their time of possession, but that was it. Outside of, again, oops, not that team set. There we go. Third down, we were 6 of 9. Think about that. We didn't get the first 2. After that, they couldn't stop it.
No, and the fact that we only had
7 of 8 or 6 of 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So in reality, if we're looking at it here, we went 7 for 10 in critical plays between third and fourth down. If you're clipping away at a 70% mark in conference play, that's saying something. But the fact that we only had 10 critical plays the entire game, it tells you your offense was moving the ball more often than not.
And this time of possession difference is that first quarter. in reality for Stanford.
I mean, you look at
that's that first quarter.
Take 13 and a half minutes off that time of possession there, and then that's the first quarter right there. 13.35 seconds.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, that's.
Yeah, we had 26 first downs, 13 passing, 13 running. Again, efficient, not overkilling, going one way or the other, calling plays very equally and very methodical.
When you see the efficiency of the offense too, it's because one time of possession, of course, Stanford did their thing. And it was a clean game all around. Stanford had some minor penalties like false starts and stuff like that. That's why they have 4 for 25. But overall, it was a really clean game. But yards per rush, 7.4 to their 1.9. Yards per play in passing, 9 to 5.5. Stanford was taking what Oregon was giving them, and then Oregon started shutting it down, though.
Well, aren't the yards per rush about the same as they have been the last few weeks too? We've been averaging about 7 or 8 yards.
I think this is higher. Yeah, higher. I think we've been averaging about 6.7. I think
somewhere
yards. This game it went up.
7.4.
Okay, 7.4. So not terribly too significant compared to that, but still, they went up a good yard per rush.
Stanford averaged 1.9.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing to really keep in mind here too is I know, we've had a discussion about it. I know just being on social media, a lot of Ducks fans were kind of concerned what that running back room was going to look like with the loss of Noah Whittington for a couple weeks here. It seems like that running back room did not miss a beat tonight. I mean, between Bucky and Jordan James, they both had 88 yards on the ground. They both had rushes over 15 yards. They both had a touchdown on the ground. I think we very clearly see how this running back room is going to be distributed in the next coming weeks without Noah. But we got some bruisers back there. I really, really like how Jordan James is running. That man runs hard. He's a tough dude to bring down.
Well, we had talked about that on Tuesday and last Saturday too. And we all had said, okay, we're not necessarily too worried about that because of who we have there. And even the third stringer now at this point that Whittington's out got in there and still had a couple good rushes there. Like,
yeah,
he needs to try not to hurdle people on the sideline that are taller than him.
Weren't even trying to tackle.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, it was that and like Kenyon Sadiq in the first quarter too. He had a little 5-yard run where he tried hurdling a dude who was coming at him straight up, and I'm like, dude, we cannot be doing that. Our depth is not that deep where we can be affording trying to jump over these 6'5" linebackers.
Yeah.
I like the energy though. I do like the energy. He's trying to make a big play. Get that note, and doing all this stuff. I like it, but he still runs good. But with James, the way James has stepped up this year compared to what he was used as last year has been, and maybe he had the ability last year. We just didn't need him to do it.
Yeah, we saw him. He's a short yardage guy.
Yeah, he could be a primary back if it wasn't just for Bucky being as elusive as he is. James could be a CJ Verdell.
And he runs like that's the style he runs right there. He reminds me a lot of a CJ Verdell. Obviously CJ had more accolades, more starts and such, but he runs a very similar way, physically speaking.
Bucky reminds me a lot of LaMichael, and Jordan reminds me a lot of CJ. Yeah.
Yeah. Noah's in between almost. He's strong, but he's shifty too.
And he's a great third down back too. He's got the best hands in the running back room.
He can give you hands out of the backfield. He can push through the line, or he can take it outside. And
he's arguably our fastest back.
Multi-dimensional, yeah.
All of our backs.
Bucky might be a little faster than Whittington.
I think he is. All of our backs will have good hands. They can all catch passes. That's kind of the nice thing. You don't have to just rely on he's in the game, screen pass. You can look for all of them because they can all catch the ball. Maybe Bucky more than the rest, gets the opportunities to, but I think all of them can catch.
Well, Bucky kind of showed that on the sideline too, where he tried to make that pass from Bo. He showed that, hey, I can be a receiver too, even though it was incomplete, ball hit the ground. He showed like, hey, I can still make these like sideline grabs.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it really opens up the RPO too. I mean, you know what I mean? The linebackers can now all of a sudden, they can't be jumping plays. They can't be jumping routes because you try to do that and all of a sudden Bucky's taking a wheel route up the sideline for 6. So it takes some pressure off Bo. It takes some pressure off some receivers. It gives them a little more cushion there. So just having those backs that are multi-dimensional, it really opens up that offense.
Well, and speaking of RPO, there was obviously some RPO used in this. But can we give some love also? Because tonight, not using the RPO, give some love. Give some love to Ferguson. Ferguson had some. He was a monster in the receiving game. It felt like. It just felt like that guy was everywhere tonight. He only caught 4 passes, but they were.
But he was used a lot tonight. Like the only really like memorable, like not so good play was on an RPO there where it was a little underthrown and it's just a little like screen to T-Ferg essentially.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Gary Bryant Jr. was used a lot. And of course, Troy Franklin was, especially on that one where he caught it almost like the pass Bo threw an interception on last week. He tried to thread in between the two receivers, the defenders. This time he got it there. And then Troy did that little top step back and then took off to the end zone. Yeah, and just lost the defenders. It was beautiful. But it's like, it was obviously Troy Franklin, we know, he's number one. He's the key guy that Bo is looking for.
Well, I'm just looking at this receiving, and I'm just now realizing Tez Johnson didn't have a reception tonight. I mean, Bo kind of overthrew him on a touchdown route, but yeah, Tez.
That wasn't really an overthrow, though. It was more of like a little adjustment that Tez didn't make.
The big thing with that is, though, that breaks Tez's 36-game streak with a catch, I think.
Oh,
so
shit.
That broke the streak. That's right, because he didn't get a catch. I thought about that during the game, and I was like, I kind of forgot about it. I was like, oh, crap.
It's nice to know that. Yeah, it's nice to know you don't have to rely on him.
Gun.
I mean, but
Ben, you still have the Notre Dame on?
I do still have the Notre Dame on, and Duke is about to piss it away, bro.
Yeah, Austin May just scored with fucking 38 seconds left. To do to Duke what got done by that to them last week.
Well, that's probably better than just giving it out. But still, can Notre Dame score more than 21 points against Power
21
5 team?
points?
I don't think so. Apparently, they can't. That was
but
my
the defense doesn't give over 15 points neither. That's all they need.
Well, those were really my main notes. Mine is the fact of we had a Chris Hudson sighting at the very end of the game on the last reception from Ty Thompson. We did have a Chris Hudson sighting on the field, so he's in the rotation. I guess again they're using him sparingly.
Ooh,
but again,
he's buried.
He's gotten buried because there's just so many people in front of him now. I think that's probably part of it.
Oh yeah, there's an embarrassment of riches in the wide receiver room right now. Just looking at the receptions and the targets that were had between Troy, Gary Bryant, Trayshawn Holden tonight. He's spreading it around, and there's not a lot of room for Chris Hudson to kind of make headway because I don't see him jumping either of those three, nor jumping Tez Johnson. So instantly, he's our wide receiver 5 at best.
But I think occasionally against these teams coming up, you're gonna have to throw him out there a few times just to mix it up.
With how lanky he is, we might have to.
Oh yeah, that's not a place for him. He's still. We've seen him in previous years. He's a skilled receiver. I think it's just right now. I think it just happens to be where we had 2 transfers come in, that 3 transfers if you're counting Tez too. He didn't have a reception tonight, but he just, like I said, I think he's buried on that chart right now. But we'll see him. Well, eventually the depth's going to come into play. We're going to see him in some big situations, I'm sure, at some point down the road this season.
Yeah, what we know is that he's not injured anymore. At least it appears.
Whether that was at that point, whether that was an injury, that was family, personal, whatever it may be, he may still not even be in that kind of shape where he can kind of get out there and compete for more than a couple series at this point. You never know either.
Right.
Even with our wide receiver group, he is buried.
He's a weapon though, and I think he's going to be used more in the rotation later on, especially when we start getting into the grit of the season.
The meat of the conference,
yeah. We're going to need that depth, and he's got experience, and they're going to utilize him in some form or fashion, some way, because we're going to need it. All right. Let the head-to-head comparison trash talking begin. Take it away, Spaz. I know you want to rant on USC.
I did all my talking this afternoon on the USC page.
I think we all did at that point.
Tim Prangley's gonna hate you and I tomorrow night, Ben. You know that, right?
Oh my! I have to do it for consistency's sake.
They scored the last 27 points or 27 of the last 34.
I don't know.
It was just crazy.
Let's just do a quick box score side by side.
You want to do a side by side? Colorado had almost 600 yards of offense. We held them to 200 yards of offense.
Yes.
You want to say USC?
I can't do a side by side necessarily, but exactly. That's why I'm like, let me pull these up really quickly, and we'll look.
I think exactly. Colorado had 565 yards today, compared to we held them to 199.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
199 total yards. 159 and 40, and USC and 6 points. So let's make sure the 6 points is noted.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to Colorado, and we'll go to USC, and we'll pull up box score. And Colorado had 371 and 193 rushing and 41 points. Oh my.
Hold on, you got to look at that score though. That says 41, right? Not 6.
Yeah, and 41 points. That's why I made sure. And 41 points. Oh my.
Well, it's for me at least
more points and 3 times the amount of yardage.
It's the first half. I will give USC credit. The first half, they gave up the 7 points. And I was like, okay. Then they scored that rushing touchdown at the very end. Shador did to get 14. I was like, well, 7 points they already gave them more Oregon did. And it took them to the very end against literally the 3rd and 4th string defense to do it. And then Duke just
and they had to put the first string back in.
Duke just lost the game. Duke just fumbled. No, I'm going to rip Notre Dame and be like, can you not score against anyone? Though? I mean, really? Oh,
they can't against USC.
Oh, okay. I think he's just upset with us. So I was like, or no, he's hurt. Duke's quarterback's hurt too.
No.
Duke's
Riley?
Yeah, if his quarterback is hurt, he's on the ground like crying. If he's
just throwing a pissy fit, he'll be fine. We all throw a pissy fit every once in a while.
Duke's season is over. That guy's everything. But
it's a Duke. We know they're a basketball school, okay? They ain't a football school.
Yeah, that's a fumble. But so yeah, when they scored 7, I was like, well, they already gave more points on their first string. Then they scored 14. Caleb Williams was out on the field for USC the entire game. Their first string defense was out there the entire time and was getting lit up in the second half.
Well, and that's something
You
I
know what
brought
their
up.
excuse is going to be? Their excuse is going to be it was the altitude. We weren't prepared for that.
Oh, Duke's quarterback grabbed his ankle when he fell to the ground. He's ratcheting his ankle. He's like grabbing it full. His ankle looks screwed.
Oh, fuck.
Well,
Oh,
that was-
no.
Yeah,
Like,
that's not a good one.
Oh shoot!
Yeah,
That'll
that's why
be
he
bad,
that's why he was like so upset because he knows his ankle, something with his ankle's up.
Well, Duke's season's over because he's their fucking lifeblood. So
Dude, he is
You're not wrong.
everything for that team. That guy is no joke.
But it's like something I brought up was like, you need your first string offense out there, your Heisman winning quarterback who should go back to back this year to win a game. Like, we can pull Bo out when it's 42-6 and be fine. You have to keep Caleb Williams out there slinging the ball 45, 50 times in order to win a game.
When it's 38-7 at one point.
Exactly. And that kind of shows you how much
38-7.
that kind of shows you how much Lincoln Riley has trust in their backup too. It's like, if you can't trust your backup when you're basically blowing a team out, what are you supposed to do? Eventually Caleb will get hurt.
Well, I mean, and yeah, Colorado needs some work. They still have some of the same mistakes. They obviously made adjustments compared to the Oregon game.
you hear that ringing too, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's something on. Yeah, that's something on Sean's end. I just muted him because it's some siren or something going on his side, some buzzer or something. I just muted him just because it was going off.
Yeah.
He can unmute himself anytime. They made adjustments. Colorado did, obviously. We knew that was going to happen. So then USC's like, well, we were on the road. You weren't. Like, dude, it's still Colorado. You know, Colorado was rushing for 60 yards a game. After Oregon, it was like 50 to 55 yards a game. You gave up basically 200 yards to them on the ground.
David said it's his knee. David says it's his knee.
Duke's QB?
No, he said I couldn't breathe in Colorado. Blew his knee out. I don't know if he's talking about Duke's quarterback.
Yeah, he's
he was
talking
grabbing
about.
Oh, sure.
Well, he was grabbing his ankle.
Well, regardless, prayers up to them.
Either way, it doesn't look good the way he grabbed it and then had to get helped off the field. But yeah, I mean, people are like, "Oh, Shiloh wasn't playing today." I'm like, dude, if you look at the Oregon game, Shiloh wasn't doing anything anyways.
Shiloh was pissing blood before we got done with him. You know, obviously, he led the team in tackles last week, but at the same time, if your safety's the one leading your team in tackles, that tells me that the ball's getting to the secondary frequently, very, very frequently. And
he did have the interception of Bo, I do believe.
Did he?
No, he did not. It was number like 8 or something like that. It was a different guy.
Did Shiloh play today though? Because I read something on Bleacher that he didn't. Okay.
No, he didn't. He was in street clothes.
But how about Howie and Miller though? USC secondary allowing damn near 200 yards to the true freshman who hasn't hardly taken a snap all year. That's insanity too. That man was balling out today.
He had one catch.
3 catches all year,
like 65 yards or whatever.
Had 3 catches the first 4 games combined.
He was open. I mean,
it was Miller right here. Yeah.
Yeah, Mario Miller. I think he's a true freshman too.
I think this was all second half, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 6 of these were in the second half. It was like,
I think 6 of them were. I think he had one in the first half.
Yeah, I think Grinch and USC they wanted to shut down Xavier Weaver, but they forgot that there are other people out on the perimeter.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what happened. Actually, that's fact. That's actually fact.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not wishing that upon anyone, and I also hope he recovers fully. It's obviously when you're talking about organs, you're dealing with some serious stuff. However, it's just pure irony, just based off what he was saying before the game. I'm gonna kick y'all ass. I'm gonna kick your coach's ass. Y'all so small. This and that.
On command. On command.
This is a major stage because of Colorado.
Every station, TV station, talking about Colorado.
Colorado.
We're talking about Colorado.
The most amazing story of the year in sports history.
It's not about it's personal anymore. It's about they're coming to kick our ass.
And then ends up pissing blood. Yeah.
That aged like warm milk.
Warm milk, sunshine.
He'll be fine, whatever it is, But yeah, it's like no one wants to see that, but it's like it is irony. It's like why are you all so little, and he's the one getting the shit kicked out of him, during the game.
Shiloh's the one who's small. Come on now.
He's tiny.
Both the Sanders
Troy
are not
Franklin threw him like he was a little boy last week.
Both the Sanders kids are not that big. They're really not. That's why Shador gets so many balls batted at the line of scrimmage.
Isn't Shador like 6 foot or something like that? 6'1". He's on the smaller side quarterback.
He's on the smaller side in the sense of quarterbacks, and Shiloh is probably like 5'11", 6 foot maybe. But I mean, he's not like the biggest guy. So of course, now they're going up against heavier dudes.
So if you guys want to get technical, it was 21-0 USC at the end of one because they scored their third touchdown on the first play of the second quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Colorado got figured out though. They made the adjustments we were talking about. It's
this I agree with. I even wrote in my notes at the beginning when I told Spaz to hold off because I said USC did not derail the hype train. Exactly. Now the media will be insufferable next week about
they
almost winning.
They're gonna be.
Thank you, USC.
They already are insufferable. Like you look at some of the stuff
after they got beat by fucking 36 points. What are they gonna do when all of a sudden they keep a 7-point game with a Heisman Trophy winner? You know what it's gonna be. The story's not gonna be USC's defense is shit. What the story's gonna be is Colorado. Colorado made the adjustment. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. We're not going to hear shit about USC's piss-poor defensive performance. What we are going to hear about, however, is how Colorado made the adjustment. Shador Saunders brought him back. They finally have a run game, X, Y, and Z. And that shit pisses me off, too. Both can be true. However, the story of the game should not be Colorado's. The story should be USC's defense is beyond porous.
USC's defense will not.
They played the same team back-to-back weeks. One team held them to 6. The other team almost lost.
Like I said, USC is supposed to be the cream of the pack right now.
And
USC is losing 4 games. USC is losing to Notre Dame. They're losing to Utah. They're losing to us.
Washington.
If Cam Rising's, if Cam Rising's back, they got to not back.
Utah's got a chance, but
only if Cam Rising plays. If that kid doesn't play another week, I'm smelling red shirt.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Gray shirt. Get it right. I'm the one who told you guys.
Shirt.
If he don't come back, he's got a gray shirt.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question. USC's offense is elite. They have weapons all over. Their quarterback is great. Their offensive line looked phenomenal. Marshawn Lloyd, running back, that man can obviously pop off. He had a big game last week. Their problem is 100% every game is going to be a shootout, and it is really, really hard to win shootouts week after week after week after week.
Yeah,
it's funny. People used to talk shit about Oregon about that, like, you score a lot of points, but you can't. You give up 30 points. It's like, USC has to score 55 points because their defense gives up 40 plus points. So
Right, it's the double standard. It's the double standard because their fans are, obviously, I get it. You pull for your team, you're going to be a little more biased to your team, but they're not hearing that shit. They don't care, But when it, like you said, when it was Oregon and the Chip Kelly days, early Mark Helfrich days, that were giving up 45 points a game, but they're averaging 54 or whatever. That shit wasn't even a conversation.
No.
Sorry, I reloaded the Washington game. I'm trying to see the score coming back from commercial.
It was 14-7.
UW?
Yep.
And 3 minutes left. 21-7 now. UW kicking off. 3 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah. And Bama's now up 31-17, middle third.
Yeah, sounds about right. What do we got here? I heard Rising has a physical on Tuesday, and if he doesn't get passed to play, he's going to forego the season and prepare for the NFL draft. Not sure if there's any truth to that. That, to be real honest with you, regardless of whether there is hard evidence of that, that's exactly what we were talking about in our little personal group chat. Earlier in the day, we were saying
Did you see that Twitter?
Yeah. Well, I don't know where he saw it, but that's exactly what we were talking about.
Well, that's the whole point. Is what he's saying is the same thing. Because Rising wants to go to the NFL. Everyone does. That's the goal. But if he can't play the season, is it better to gray shirt to come back or transfer somewhere for a full year, be healthy, or just take your shot? Is it worth trying to play the rest of the season, or is it worth saving yourself for another year to prove you can be healthy?
Well, it's tough because this year's QB class is so deep too. I feel like, especially if he's just looking at strictly draft stock here, it's a really tough year to miss the year of injury and still declare for the NFL draft when you have, umpteen quarterbacks who have a potential to make an NFL roster in some capacity next year, whether that be a starter or, a backup or even shit on the practice squad, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I hope he comes. I really do hope he comes back and plays. I would like to see the pack at full strength in its final year.
I'm okay. Take a break, Cam. Nice job. You won back-to-back Pac-12 titles right off into the sunset, kid.
Yeah, I mean, trust me. If we don't have to play him, that's great. But I would like to play.
They are the
strongest teams. I'd like to play the strongest team with the best personnel. But Rising has to do what is best for him, just like any player does, health-wise.
Oh, yeah. I think that's more my point. Obviously, in terms of Oregon winning the game, I would love to see him miss the game just because, obviously they don't have a fucking offense without him.
Yeah,
but
their quarterbacks are trash. What did I tell you during the game? One quarterback can't hit open receivers. The other one throws to Oregon State players.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. But, as a person, I hope he is able to bounce back and, have a good year. Just he doesn't deserve to.
Oh, Rising's a beast. That man is that team is different with him. Completely different.
Absolutely.
And this is what I heard earlier this week, too, was you got to get Penix out of the pocket.
Penix is a different matter because Penix is left-handed too. So but Penix is showing he can throw from both sides of the pocket. Like it doesn't matter on the run, he can throw.
Yeah, but if you pressure him and push him out of the box, he's much easier to defend and he's not as consistent. You've turned him into that Indiana Penix.
Spaz. As I've told you, we're not going into Washington conversation until Tuesday. So you slow your roll, you shut your mouth, and you know your place. Or I will remove you from this damn stream. That will be your mission then this week. Now you've wanted to wind yourself into it. You get to watch Penix film all the next few days. Discuss.
Spaz is on Penix duty. I like it.
No, that won't happen. It's just because that won't happen.
Spaz is on Washington duty.
That won't happen.
Jacob in the comments is 100% right, too.
Just watching the hate for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks.
That's a lot of hate being spewed from both sides. Twitter is going to be a dangerous place.
That's why I have to back off. I'm like, we can't talk about Washington yet. Hold on. We have a couple of live shows we have to do where we have enough time to spew about nonsense. And
I think we should bring guests into one of them too.
I'm talking too much shit about Washington.
We're gonna be working on that. I can't wait for you.
Well, because we got.
Week.
We've got people also on some of our Facebook groups and stuff that are willing to jump in and spend 5 minutes with us. Kind of like what we saw Tim and those guys doing today.
Yeah, no, I'm all for the open chat. Like we said, we talk about more in the back room. It's just when the time comes that they're USC, the spoiled children. They love the attention. The
Washingtons, the USCs, the big games. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They just love the attention also. I'm not talking badly about other Voice of College Football hosts. Right? None of us are. Love those guys.
No, we're not talking about you, Tim. It's okay.
Great contributors.
We love everybody in our Voice of College Football family.
Except for the delusional fan bases, USC.
UW.
I have to admit, even USC guys today were, they weren't taking 100%, but they were admitting now they're a little worried defensively.
Svet, now, I said in their chat, I said in the USC chat multiple times and on text to you guys, I told them after like 4 games last year, your defense sucks. And they're like, oh, we get takeaways. We're top in the nation. I'm like, yeah. What happens if you don't get those takeaways?
Well, the thing is, you live and die by it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, getting takeaways is great. If you're getting 4 to 5 takeaways a game, 3, 4, 5 takeaways a game, that's phenomenal. You would completely taken the air out of their balloon. But like you said, what happens when you run into a offense that takes care of the ball?
But
all of a sudden you're not relying on that.
This keeps happening like today, where like last year, you got up 17-0 on Utah, lost the game. You got up 17 again in the championship game, lost again. You got 15 points on Tulane twice, lost the game.
It's the defense. It's 100%.
It's just a repetition.
Yeah,
it's just a repetition. I mean,
yeah. The one thing I see. What's that, Spaz?
You would have thought too that with all that they would have been like, okay, you're my buddy, I love you, but I gotta let you go. I got to bring somebody in here that can get to these kids, because whatever you're sharing with them, it ain't cutting.
I mean,
so I got to make a change.
I'll give USC fair in the sense it's the second year, and last year we said the same thing. Like this year, if Lupoi had the same issues, we would be like, yeah, this probably is not going to work. Now we've seen multiple weeks, minus Tech. But then, even then, they shut it down when they needed to.
Yeah, even Tech at the end. Yeah, exactly.
Every week since every other week, it's literally been the same. 200 yards total, 200 yards total, 200 yards total. 6 points, 7 points. That's it. It's like, sweet. I mean, sweet. Every team is going to give up some points here and there, but you shouldn't be giving it to like Colorado when you just saw another team holding 6 and you give up 41 and you're supposed to be the better team. That's the difference.
USC is trash.
Sean comes out of fucking left field.
Yeah, it's like that's the difference. I mean, USC is going to drop in the ranking again after that performance.
Dude, and the thing for USC is like, at least to me, it's not a lack of talent on the defensive side of the ball either. They have talent on the back side of the ball. Their blue chip ratio on their defensive side of the ball is through the roof. It's top 10 in the country. With that being said, schematically speaking, it's terrible. It's 100% Alex Grinch's schematics that are just killing those guys.
Well, last year they had good talent. I mean, And last year, one of the things I kept telling the USC guys was, dude, you guys can't tackle. And they knew this. And I'm like, that falls on the DC. And they're like, well, Alex Grinch isn't teaching them to tackle. I'm like, no, but his position coaches are that he hires and picks for his defense.
There it is. It's the whole tree.
So it falls on Alex Grinch. And then they still said today they can't tackle. And I'm like, so it's still on Alex Grinch. You know what I mean?
Well, and like you said, Ben, you were talking about how you were saying that it's the same problem they had last year. They didn't get any better. And what I heard all offseason, we brought in Bear Alexander. We have these transfers. Our defense, it's year 2 of Alex Grinch. It's only going to get better from here. We're 5 weeks deep into this thing, and we were talking about they gave up 28 to San Jose State. They gave up 28 to Arizona State.
41 to Colorado.
41 to Colorado. At what point can you look in the mirror and say, yeah, we have a fucking defensive problem, and it starts with DC?
And Arizona's moving. They're in the red zone with 46 seconds to go 21-14 at half.
To be honest, I'm not even going to
go up, but to get within 7.
Yeah, I'm not even going to trash UW for that, because for the obvious reason, Arizona is their Stanford to us. They always struggle with Arizona for whatever ungodly reason.
It's the same. Them in the desert, like when we play in the desert, it's the same thing. It's 4th and 5. I think Arizona's going to have to take a field goal, but still 21-10 at halftime. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Can't kill yourself there, no.
Well, I don't want to waste all the time talking shit about USC because we have plenty of time to do that in a couple of weeks here. And we have obviously 2 weeks to talk about Hate Week for Washington. Like we said, it'll be it's Washington Hate Week for 2 weeks. That's a lot of hate.
To be real honest, I hate week. Because I live on Twitter. I love Twitter, and I just see so much shit that pisses me off during hate week. It's going to be a long 2 weeks.
It is going to be a long 2 weeks. That's why I'm like, I'm happy one of my concerts is next Friday. So I'm like, oh, good. I don't have to worry about football on Saturday.
I got 3 Blazer preseason games coming up in the next 2 weeks, so I'm good. So I got a lot of distractions because I got training camp and preseason coming as well. So I'll be busy beaver in another little avenue for a couple weeks.
John's got cookies to sling.
Well, let me see. I've got our tickers going, and to everyone here in the chat.
I may have cookies to sling, but I'm still going to hate on the fuck skis, okay?
Hey, you got to do it. Everyone, this is the Oregon Postgame Live here on the Voice of College Football, the Oregon channel. Everyone, go ahead and promote yourself. I have it running on the ticker below. Let's just call this a night for the Stanford week because that tree got chopped, mulched, and embarrassed.
Ben, I think there is one thing we didn't cover about the Stanford game, though.
Is there?
There is. I believe Tuesday we typically make some predictions about the Stanford game.
That is Tuesday.
Do we have?
He's trying to throw it on.
Come on, you just don't want to lose.
We're not making a score prediction this Tuesday. We're going to make it for next Tuesday.
Oh, that's fair. I suppose we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
not a lot to talk about.
We got to figure out how to literally milk the clock this Tuesday, literally on a live show because we can't waste the whole show talking about everything. Then next week we'll be like,
well, I hope the people in the comments bring all their hate. Whether they're trolling us or trolling you, Doug. I hope there's a lot of hate being spewed these next 2 weeks. I really look forward to it.
Oh, I'm sure there will be. I mean, we have enough to do. Maybe this next week, maybe this Tuesday, we'll try to do some montage of the history of the game or something like that.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Insight.
It's a great idea.
So we got the ticker going here with the where you can follow everyone. But Derek, let everyone know verbally where to follow you at.
Absolutely. As always, I'm Derek, your favorite Derek on the internet. You can follow me down here at Wait Who's Derek on Twitter. It's where I'm most active. Look forward to interacting with you all.
Spaz, go while Sean gets ready.
Hey, it's your boy. It's me. It's the Rocky Classic on Twitter and TikTok 1975 and Rocky Classic on Instagram. And we're here every Tuesday and Saturday after post games. We have one Friday game, the Civil War. That is true. But every Tuesday night, you can join all of us here on the Voice of College Football, Oregon Live. Tune us in. Check us out. Peace.
And you can always find me at Chubby Nerd 5 on TikTok or Sean Howard 778 on Instagram. Yes, I have a mop, and yes, I work at Crumble. So you want cookies, you know who to come to, baby.
Gotta give the man some love right there. Shoot him quickly.
Oh, shit.
I want to full screen quickly there. Sean doing his work right now. That's a commitment he's got. He's doing that and trying to live stream here and talk about college football. That's it. I'm just Ben here of Exploring with Ben and Sam right here on the ticker. Just go to Exploring with Ben and Sam here on YouTube. Search it. It'll pop up. You can find my TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, I believe, all through the YouTube site. I'll keep it easy for you guys. All of those links are in there. And then, obviously, all of us, or as much as we're available, obviously, here, though, every Tuesday, 9:15 p.m. Central Time, 7:15 Pacific, right here on the Oregon channel.
Yeah, it was half an hour.
We do our best. Every Tuesday, though, for the live show. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And then, as always, every weekend, right here, except for next weekend, because it's a bye week, we're going to beat the hell out of that bye week. As we should
talk about, man.
As we should do. Every week, right here after the game, within about an hour, generally, to talk about the game. And this week was pretty successful as we recount really quickly. Oregon running up the score a little bit, 42 unanswered points on Stanford. We made, as Spaz is saying, tree clippings out of the tree. So I think unless there's any final words from any of you, we are going to say adieu and call it a night here, and open the floor to you guys for any final comments, thoughts before we go to the bye week.
Come hang with us. What are we going to talk about? How much buy are we going to talk about?
A lot.
What are we buying?
Oh, God.
Why do I do this? Why do I do this every week?
To be out on the next 2 weeks, I just look forward to getting healthy. Hopefully, guys like, Kyrie Jackson, he's able to come back. Hopefully, Noah Whittington, obviously, I feel like he's going to be out for another couple weeks. Hopefully, his recovery progresses. But I look forward to having a stress-free Saturday next weekend for once in a while. Because no matter what the score is, I hate to tell you guys, I'm stressing out. So I look forward to a stress-free Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know. I look forward to definitely sleeping during some games like I did today. So, bye week's going to be nice.
Well, note, again, this is the first time Oregon's been 5-0 since they mentioned earlier, since 2013. This is the first time. So it's been 10 years since we've been 5-0 to start the season.
Well, that's kind of a surprising stat, honestly. Just thinking back.
I didn't think about that. I didn't realize that because I think 2014, Arizona was our 5th game, and we lost to Arizona.
The Scooby Wright game.
Season. Yeah.
I
think that was the 5th game of that season. So I was like, oh, it has been 10 years, hasn't it? Damn.
that surprised the hell out of me because I was like, wait, what? Really?
Well, I know we had some dark years, 2016, 2017, 2018 even comes into mind, but
We
I
don't
didn't
talk
realize
about that.
5-0. Shit, Dan's the fucking man.
Give the man another extension.
No doubt, man. Sign that 2050. Lock him up.
Some guy had like a shirt that had like Dan the Man on it with like Lanning's face on it. I'm like, I need that shirt like now.
The
Right.
Danimal.
Search for it tomorrow. It'll be online somewhere, probably.
Derek, go find us your dad's shirt. Thanks for bringing him here, though. We appreciate
I'm going to call my pops up and I'm going to see if we can get his merch.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
If you guys didn't know, Dan Lanning's my father, so.
Shut up, Lanny Jr. All right, everyone. We appreciate you tuning in. I normally only do this for the Sunday show, but you know what? Why not? Just in honor of Mark. There it is. Thank you, gentlemen. And we will talk again on Tuesday at the start of the long-awaited 2 weeks of hate. Have a good night, everyone.
Let's go Ducks.
Give
Look
my
at that man.
hamburger.
Look at